Linda and Tom had been married for 10 years, their relationship marked by a rhythm of familiarity and routine. Their lives, though comfortable, had settled into a predictable cadence. Tom, a dedicated architect, was consumed by his projects, while Linda, a passionate artist, had found her own niche in the art world. Their love had weathered the initial storms of early marriage, and they now enjoyed a serene, if somewhat monotonous, life together. An invitation to the International Art Festival in Paris came as a welcome distraction. It was a prestigious event, and Linda saw it as a chance to revive her career. She packed her bags with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, leaving Tom behind with the promise of frequent updates and souvenirs from the City of Light. The prospect of exhibiting her work among the world's best artists was exhilarating, and she hoped it would reignite the creative spark that had been feeling dull of late. On arrival in Paris, Linda was swept up in the whirlwind of the festival. The city, bathed in the golden hues of autumn, felt like another world. The museums and galleries buzzed with energy, and Linda's anticipation grew as she prepared for the events to come. Each day brought new experiences, art exhibitions, artist talks, and the mingling of minds from around the world. It was in this vibrant environment that Linda and Oliver crossed paths. Oliver was an enigmatic figure in the art world, known for his avant-garde approach and eccentric personality. They met by chance at a busy gallery reception. Linda was immediately drawn to his intensity and the raw passion with which he spoke about art. Their conversation began with a discussion of techniques and influences, but quickly moved into more personal territory. There was a magnetic attraction between them, and Linda found herself fascinated by his unconventional views and charismatic presence. The evening continued in a cozy Parisian café, a charming establishment tucked away from the chaos of the festival. Over glasses of wine and the quiet bustle of the city outside, their conversation deepened. They shared stories of their artistic journeys, their struggles, and their dreams. Oliver's stories were infused with a sense of recklessness and romanticism that contrasted sharply with Linda's more restrained and structured life. As the days passed, the bond between Linda and Oliver grew stronger. What began as a friendship soon developed into something more intense. Their connection was undeniable, a force that drew them together with a magnetic pull that neither could resist. They spent long hours exploring Paris, their conversations flowing effortlessly between art, philosophy, and personal revelations. One evening, their budding friendship took a more intimate turn. The setting sun cast a warm glow over the city as they strolled along the Seine. Their hands brushed together, and the spark between them ignited into a passionate kiss. The boundaries of their relationship shifted dramatically that night, and Linda found herself caught up in a whirlwind of emotions she hadn't expected. The romance between Linda and Oliver was both exciting and confusing. The allure of their secret escapades was intoxicating, and for the first time in years, Linda felt a sense of exhilarating freedom. Their time together was filled with moments of intense connection, and Linda began to question the complacency of her life with Tom. Back home, Tom began to notice Linda's absence more and more. Their once regular phone calls became less frequent, and the distance between them seemed to grow with each passing day. Tom's initial support for Linda's trip began to erode, replaced by a nagging sense of unease. He tried to reach out, but Linda's responses were short and evasive, her mind preoccupied with her new relationship. Caught up in the excitement of her affair with Oliver, Linda was unaware of the storm brewing at home. Tom's suspicion and frustration grew as he felt increasingly estranged from his wife. The widening gap between them set the stage for a confrontation neither could have anticipated. Linda's romantic entanglement with Oliver was an exciting escape, but it also marked the beginning of a dramatic change in her life. The consequences of her actions were yet to unfold, but the seeds of discord had already been sown. As she continued to navigate the heady mix of passion and artistic inspiration, the foundations of her relationship with Tom were irrevocably tested. The first chapter of Linda's Parisian adventure had set in motion a series of events that would lead to heartbreak and scandal. The vibrant allure of the city was now intertwined with the complexities of love, betrayal, and the unraveling of her once secure world. Linda and Oliver's days in Paris continued to be an intoxicating mix of art, passion, and discovery. Paris, with its timeless charm, seemed to reflect the intensity of their connection. Every street, cafe, and gallery felt like an extension of their growing affair. Linda was captivated by Oliver's artistry and his unconventional views on life and love. He was a contrast to Tom's steady, predictable presence, and she found herself drawn into his world with a fervor she hadn't experienced in years. The festival was in full swing, but Linda's focus had shifted from her professional obligations to her personal escapades. She still attended exhibitions and artist talks, but her mind was often elsewhere, preoccupied with thoughts of Oliver. Their encounters became more frequent and more intimate. They spent long evenings wandering around Montmartre, sharing their deepest fears and desires as they explored the hidden corners of the city. One evening, after an art event Linda had attended alone, Oliver invited her to his studio. It was a small, cluttered space filled with vibrant canvases and eclectic sculptures. The studio was a reflection of Oliver's chaotic creativity, and Linda was fascinated by the raw, unfiltered energy of the place. They shared a bottle of wine and talked about their dreams, their conversation punctuated by the occasional brush of a hand or lingering glance. As the night wore on, their physical attraction became irresistible. Oliver's touch was electric, and Linda felt a mixture of liberation and guilt. They gave in to their desires, their passion spilling over into a fervent embrace that left them both breathless. The intimacy they shared was both exhilarating and dangerous, and Linda was well aware of the risk involved. Despite the thrill of their clandestine romance, Linda was haunted by an undercurrent of fear. She knew she was betraying the trust of the man she had been with for a decade. Tom's calls became more persistent, but Linda found herself unable to face him. Every conversation was tense and unsatisfying, filled with half-truths and evasions. Her attempts to maintain a facade of normalcy were becoming increasingly difficult. At home, Tom's concern had turned to suspicion. He had noticed the changes in Linda's behavior and the growing distance between them. As the weeks passed, his anxiety deepened into a nagging sense of betrayal. He began to question Linda's commitment to their marriage. And his unease only intensified when he discovered discrepancies in her travel plans and phone calls. Tom, a man known for his pragmatism, struggled with the emotions that were surfacing. The trust he had once placed in Linda was eroding, replaced by a painful uncertainty. One day, Linda received an unexpected visitor in her temporary Paris apartment. It was Margot Leclerc, a renowned art critic who had mentored her early in her career. Margot's presence was a stark reminder of Linda's professional past. And their conversation soon turned to Linda's current state of mind. "I've been hearing a lot about you from various quarters," Margot said, her tone both curious and concerned. "There's talk of your work, but it seems there's more going on than just your art." Linda was reluctant to open up, but Margot's probing questions forced her to confront the turmoil she was feeling. She confided in Margot about her relationship with Oliver, the excitement it brought, and the overwhelming sense of guilt she felt. Margot listened intently, her expression a mixture of sympathy and disapproval. "You're treading a dangerous line, Linda. Affairs can be seductive, but they often leave a trail of destruction. You need to consider the consequences of your actions, not just for yourself, but for those around you." Linda's conversation with Margot was a sobering moment. It forced her to acknowledge the gravity of her situation, but the lure of her affair with Oliver was hard to resist. Her internal conflict intensified, and the lines between her desires and her responsibilities became increasingly blurred. As the festival's closing gala approached, Linda's emotions were a turbulent mix of anticipation and dread. She knew that this event would be the culmination of her professional achievements in Paris, but it also symbolized the culmination of her personal turmoil. The evening was filled with high-profile guests, critical reviews, and a palpable sense of excitement. As Linda mingled with the art world's elite, Her thoughts kept returning to Oliver, the secret they shared. Tom's growing concern had reached a tipping point. He began to investigate, piecing together the fragments of information he had gathered. The more he learned, the clearer it became that something was deeply wrong. Tom's anger and hurt grew as he pieced together the reality of Linda's betrayal. His sense of betrayal was deepened by the realization that Linda had hidden her affair behind a veneer of professional commitment. The final night of the festival ended with Linda and Oliver sharing a quiet, bittersweet moment. They stood together on a bridge overlooking the Seine, the lights of the city reflected in the water below. The weight of their affair weighed heavily on both of them, and Linda felt the gravity of the choices she had made. Oliver, sensing her inner conflict, reached out to comfort her, but Linda knew their time together was coming to an end. Unknown to Linda, Tom's investigation was about to lead him to a dramatic confrontation. The seeds of a scandal were being sown and the peaceful veneer of Linda's life was about to be shattered. The next chapter of her life would be marked by a painful and public reckoning that would test the limits of her resilience and force her to face the consequences of her actions. The days following the festival were a blur of excitement and tension for Linda. The closing gala had been a grand affair, attended by the who's who of the art world. Linda had mingled with the guests, her heart heavy with the duality of her success and her growing guilt. Oliver, ever the enigma, had remained by her side, offering comfort and understanding amidst the whirlwind of Parisian glamour. But the celebrations were marred by an ever-present undercurrent of anxiety. Linda was acutely aware that her affair with Oliver was hanging by a thread, and the guilt of her actions weighed heavily on her conscience. The excitement of her successful exhibition could not completely drown out the reality of her betrayal. Back in the United States, Tom's investigation into Linda's behavior had reached a critical point. Driven by suspicion and hurt, he had begun to piece together the details of her Parisian escapades. He had contacted mutual friends and colleagues for information about Linda's activities. The more he uncovered, the clearer it became that Linda's infidelity was not just a fleeting mistake, but a serious breach of trust. Tom's emotions were a turbulent mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. His pragmatic mind struggled to reconcile the emotional turmoil he was experiencing. The thought that Linda had chosen to be with someone else, especially so publicly, was more than he could bear. The deeper he dug, the more he realized the full extent of Linda's betrayal, and he found it increasingly difficult to contain his anguish. One evening, as Linda and Oliver were enjoying a quiet dinner in a charming bistro, the atmosphere was abruptly interrupted by a phone call. Linda glanced at the screen and saw Tom's name flashing. Her heart skipped a beat and she hesitated before answering. The conversation that followed was fraught with tension and pain. "Linda, where are you?" Tom's voice was tense and controlled, but Linda could hear the pain underneath. "I'm in Paris," Linda replied, her voice faltering. "I've been busy with the festival." "You've been gone for weeks, Linda. Your calls have been short and evasive. I'm starting to piece things together and it doesn't look good." The conversation continued with Tom's growing realization of Linda's betrayal. Every word felt like a blow and Linda struggled to keep her composure. The gravity of the situation was sinking in and the distance between her and Tom seemed insurmountable. The next day, Tom took a drastic step. Fueled by a sense of betrayal and a desire for retribution, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He organized an impromptu exhibition in Paris that presented Linda's own artwork in a controversial light. Held in a prominent gallery, the exhibition focused not only on her art but also on the personal scandal that had unfolded. The exhibition, entitled "Betrayal in Brushstrokes," featured Linda's art alongside a narrative about her affair with Oliver. It was a shocking and public revelation of Linda's private life, designed to humiliate and expose her to the very art world that had once celebrated her. The press quickly caught wind of the scandal and soon the headlines in Paris and beyond were abuzz with the story of Linda's betrayal. The effect on Linda was immediate and devastating. The exhibition became a public spectacle, with critics and journalists flocking to witness the drama unfold. Linda's reputation, once synonymous with artistic brilliance, was now tainted by scandal. The gallery was filled with whispers and pointed glances, and Linda felt the weight of public scrutiny bearing down on her. News of the exhibition reached Linda in a flood of phone calls and messages. The shock and horror she felt was compounded by the realization that Tom's actions were not just an emotional attack, but a calculated attempt to damage her career. Her private anguish was now a matter of public record, and the artistic community that had once admired her was now polarized by the scandal. Linda's reaction was one of deep despair. She felt betrayed not only by Oliver's eventual distancing, but also by the public exposure of her private life. The once vibrant city of Paris now seemed cold and unwelcoming. Her artistic achievements were overshadowed by the scandal, and the support she had once enjoyed from her peers was now replaced by contempt and judgment. In the aftermath of the exhibition, Linda found herself isolated and overwhelmed. The once thriving art scene in Paris now felt hostile, and she struggled to cope with the fallout from Tom's revenge. Her relationship with Oliver, once a source of excitement, had disintegrated under the pressure of the scandal. The art world, which had once been her refuge, was now a place of betrayal and rejection. As Linda packed her bags to return to the United States, she faced the reality of her shattered world. The glamour of Paris had given way to a painful reality, and the journey home was marked by a sense of profound loss. She was leaving behind not only the city that had been the setting for her affair, but also the career that had once been her pride and joy. The return flight was a blur of exhaustion and emotional turmoil. Linda was left to deal with the consequences of her choices, the wreckage of her career, and the shattered remains of her marriage. The road ahead was uncertain, and Linda knew that rebuilding her life would be a formidable challenge. The third chapter of Linda's story was one of intense personal and public reckoning. The consequences of her actions had been laid bare for the world to see, and the road ahead was fraught with obstacles. Faced with the reality of her situation, Linda had to confront the profound implications of her choices and the arduous journey of redemption that lay ahead. Linda's return to the United States was shrouded in a haze of exhaustion and emotional devastation. The once glamorous vision of Paris, with its allure and excitement, had been shattered by the scandal that now tainted every corner of her life. The city that had promised so much had become a bitter reminder of her personal failures. And the prospect of returning home, while less scandal-ridden, was no less daunting. The flight was a blur of restless sleep and frantic thoughts. Linda's mind raced through the events that had transpired, her heart aching with the weight of her decisions. The promise of Paris had turned into a nightmare, leaving her racked with guilt and grief. As the plane descended towards her hometown, Linda could barely muster the strength to face the reality that awaited her. The gray, overcast sky that greeted her felt like a reflection of her mood, somber and oppressive. Her hometown, once a place of comfort and familiarity, now seemed like a prison of her own making. Every step towards her front door felt like a plunge into an abyss of regret, the weight of her choices weighing heavily on her shoulders. The home that had once been a sanctuary now felt like a cage, a constant reminder of the life she had destroyed. Tom waited for her at the airport. His presence, far from being a comfort, was a stark reminder of the turmoil she had caused him. The reunion was charged with unspoken anger and hurt. Tom's eyes, once warm and affectionate, were now cold and distant. The emotional gulf between them was palpable, and Linda found herself at a loss for words, struggling to articulate the remorse she felt. The first few days at home were marked by strained silences and awkward attempts at communication. Tom's initial outburst of anger had simmered into a bitter silence, and Linda found it increasingly difficult to bridge the gap that had opened up between them. Each conversation felt like an exercise in futility, as if each attempt at reconciliation only deepened the rift. One evening, when the silence between them became unbearable, Tom finally broke it. They sat in the dimly lit living room, the shadows of the setting sun stretching across the walls, reflecting the emotional distance between them. "I'm trying to understand why," Tom began, his voice cracking with a mixture of pain and confusion. "Why did you do this? Why did you betray everything we had?" Linda's eyes were fixed on the worn carpet beneath her feet. The rehearsed apologies and explanations she had prepared seemed inadequate now. She took a deep breath, gathered what was left of her composure, and looked up at Tom. "I'm sorry, Tom. I really am. I can't give you a good reason for what I did. I was lost, looking for something in Paris that I thought would complete me, but I was wrong." Tom shook his head slowly, his face a portrait of pain and disbelief. "I haven't just lost my wife, Linda. I've lost respect for you. I don't know how to put that behind me." Quote. Linda could see the depth of Tom's hurt etched into his face, and it pierced her heart. She knew that no apology could undo the damage she had done or heal the wounds that had been opened. The trust that had once been the bedrock of their relationship was shattered, and the task of rebuilding it seemed almost insurmountable. In the weeks that followed, Linda struggled to reconnect with her former life. The process of repairing her career seemed daunting. The art world's reaction to the scandal had been harsh and unforgiving. Many of her colleagues and patrons were reluctant to associate with her, and her name had become synonymous with scandal. The galleries and institutions that had once celebrated her were now indifferent or even hostile. Desperate to regain some semblance of control, Linda threw herself into her art with a fervor born of a need for redemption. Art had always been her refuge, and she hoped that immersing herself in creation would provide some measure of healing. She began working on a new series of pieces that explored themes of betrayal, forgiveness, and self-discovery. These works were deeply personal and cathartic, reflecting her turbulent emotions and her search for understanding. Meanwhile, Tom was grappling with his own set of emotions and choices. Always a practical man, he was forced to confront uncomfortable truths about his marriage and himself. In an effort to make sense of the betrayal and figure out his next steps, he began attending counseling sessions. The process was painful and introspective, forcing him to question the future of his relationship with Linda. One afternoon, while Linda was deep in her studio working on her new series, she received an unexpected visit from Margot Leclerc, a former art critic who had played a significant role in her early career. Margot's reputation as a prominent figure in the art world had once been closely linked to Linda's success. "I've seen the pieces you've been working on," Margot said, her voice soft but determined. "They are powerful, Linda. They convey a raw honesty that people need to see." Linda was taken aback by Margot's offer. The prospect of a fresh start was both exhilarating and terrifying. It was a chance to redeem herself and reclaim her place in the art world, but it also meant confronting the very emotions and events that had caused her so much pain. "Thank you, Margot," Linda replied, her voice shaking with emotion. "I'd like to take this opportunity, but I want to be clear. I'm still processing everything that's happened. I'm not sure where it will lead, but I'm willing to try." Margot nodded, her understanding evident in her gaze. "Take your time, Linda. Healing is a process, and art can be a powerful part of that journey." As Linda prepared for her upcoming exhibition, she felt a glimmer of hope amidst the shadows of her past. The road ahead remained uncertain, and she knew there would be more challenges to face. But for the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of purpose and determination. She was ready to face her past and find a way forward, one brushstroke at a time. The night of the exhibition was a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Linda had chosen to show her work in a gallery known for its focus on raw, emotional art. The gallery's intimate atmosphere provided the perfect backdrop for her new pieces, each a reflection of her personal turmoil and emotional journey. The soft lighting cast soft shadows across the canvases, enhancing their emotional depth. Guests began to trickle in, their mumbled conversations melding with the soft strains of ambient music. Linda greeted her visitors with a mixture of trepidation and hope. She recognized familiar faces, former colleagues, old friends, and a few critics who had supported her work in the past. Each interaction was a reminder of her former life and the fragile thread she was trying to rebuild. Margot Leclerc, ever the discerning observer, was present throughout the evening, offering quiet encouragement and insightful comments. Linda was grateful for Margot's support. Her presence was a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty. As the evening progressed, Linda began to feel the weight of her vulnerability lift. The guests responded positively to her work, their engagement with the pieces suggesting that her message was getting through. Conversations about betrayal, forgiveness, and redemption filled the gallery, and Linda took comfort in the fact that her art was resonating with others. The exhibition was a modest success, and while it did not erase the scars of her past, it did give Linda a renewed sense of purpose. The road to redemption was long and fraught with obstacles, but Linda was prepared to travel it with honesty and resilience. The echoes of her betrayal still reverberated through her life, but through her art and her efforts to rebuild, she hoped to find a way to heal and make a new start. As Linda stood alone amidst the dwindling crowd, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment and bittersweet reflection. The future remained uncertain, but she was no longer paralyzed by regret. Instead, she faced it with a determination to create a new narrative, one that reflected her struggles, her growth, and her enduring hope for a better tomorrow. News of Linda's affair with Oliver spread like wildfire through the art world. What began as hushed whispers and speculation soon erupted into a full-blown scandal that shook the very foundations of the Paris art scene. Struggling with his betrayal and emotional turmoil, Tom decided to take a drastic step to expose the affair and seek retribution. Tom's plan was nothing short of audacious. He meticulously organized an art exhibition under the guise of a tribute to contemporary art, presenting it as a celebration of new and provocative work. The venue was a prestigious gallery known for attracting influential art critics and patrons. The exhibition was entitled The Art of Betrayal, and its opening was highly anticipated by the art world. On the night of the exhibition, the gallery was buzzing with excitement. Guests, including many of Paris's elite and art lovers, were eager to see the latest creations. Tom had carefully arranged a series of installations, each more provocative than the last, revealing intimate and deeply personal details about Linda and Oliver's relationship. The installations were not just artistic expressions, they were graphic and raw depictions of Linda's infidelity. One piece featured a series of paintings depicting Linda and Oliver in various compromising and intimate situations. Another installation featured a video montage of moments from their time together, including scenes from their secret rendezvous and private conversations. Each piece was accompanied by text describing the scenes in graphic and unflattering terms, making it clear to all present that the art was a personal vendetta. As guests wandered through the exhibition, their reactions ranged from shock to outrage. The sophisticated crowd was stunned by the sheer audacity and personal nature of the artworks. Whispers and gasps filled the gallery, and soon the scandal was the talk of the town. The once respected art critic who had admired Linda's work for years now publicly denounced her, and the media seized on the story with sensational headlines. Linda, who had been unaware of Tom's plan, was devastated when she heard about the exhibition. The betrayal went deeper than she could have imagined. Her reputation was now tarnished, her career in jeopardy, and her private life exposed to public scrutiny. The art world's reaction was swift and unforgiving. Collectors withdrew their support, galleries canceled upcoming shows, and Linda's name became synonymous with scandal and betrayal. In the aftermath of the exhibition, Linda was forced to confront the consequences of her actions and the fallout from Tom's calculated revenge. The gallery, once a symbol of artistic success, had become the stage for a personal vendetta that had irreparably damaged her career. The bright future she had once envisioned in Paris was now overshadowed by the scandal that had engulfed her life. As she packed her bags and prepared to leave Paris, Linda felt a profound sense of loss. Not only was she saying goodbye to her lover, but also to a city that had once been a haven for her creativity. Her departure marked the end of a chapter of passion, betrayal, and heartbreak, leaving her to reflect on the choices that had led to this painful conclusion. Linda's newfound sense of purpose, nurtured by her exhibition and community work, began to feel like a fragile oasis in the midst of a desert of uncertainty. As she continued to navigate the complexities of her life and career, she found solace in her art and her commitment to at-risk youth. But the road to rebuilding her relationships and reputation was still fraught with challenges. The weeks following her exhibition were marked by a series of public appearances and media engagements. Linda took part in interviews and panel discussions, gradually reasserting her presence in the art world. Each opportunity allowed her to share her journey of recovery and redemption, and the media reception was cautiously optimistic. Despite the positive feedback, Linda remained acutely aware of the lingering shadows of her past actions. One rainy afternoon, while Linda was working in her studio, she received a call from her therapist. Dr. Stevens had suggested that Linda consider a retreat focused on personal growth and creative exploration. The retreat, to be held in a tranquil rural setting, promised an opportunity to delve deeper into her emotional and artistic process, away from the distractions of her everyday life. Feeling both apprehensive and hopeful, Linda agreed to attend a retreat. The idea of a temporary escape from her turbulent reality was appealing, but the prospect of confronting her inner demons in a new environment also made her uneasy. Arriving at the retreat center, Linda was struck by its tranquil beauty. Nestled among rolling hills and surrounded by lush forests, the center offered a stark contrast to the hustle and bustle of her city life. The retreat was designed to encourage introspection and creativity, with activities ranging from meditation and yoga to collaborative art projects and individual reflection. The first few days of the retreat were a whirlwind of new experiences and emotions. Linda participated in group discussions where participants shared their personal stories and artistic journeys. She found comfort in the camaraderie of others who were also seeking healing through their art. These shared experiences helped Linda to feel less isolated in her struggle. One evening, as the retreat participants gathered around the campfire, Linda found herself in conversation with Eleanor, a fellow artist whose work also explored themes of personal trauma and recovery. Eleanor's insightful observations and gentle manner gave Linda a new perspective on her own work and experiences. Sometimes, Eleanor said thoughtfully, we create our most powerful art when we're not afraid to face our darkest fears. It's not just about healing ourselves, it's about using that healing to touch others. Linda nodded, reflecting on Eleanor's words. The conversation sparked a deeper exploration of her own artistic process. She began to see her work not just as a means of self-expression, but as a bridge to connect with others who had faced similar struggles. Throughout the retreat, Linda dedicated herself to her art with renewed vigor. The serene environment and supportive community allowed her to experiment with new techniques and themes. Her work began to take on a new depth, reflecting a more nuanced understanding of her emotional journey. One of the key activities of the retreat was a collaborative art project in which participants worked together to create a large, shared piece. Linda found the experience particularly cathartic. The collaborative nature of the project helped her to see the value of shared vulnerability and collective healing. As she painted alongside others, she felt a sense of unity and connection that was both comforting and empowering. The retreat culminated in a final exhibition of the participants' work. Linda's contribution was a series of paintings exploring the transformative power of forgiveness and resilience. Her pieces were deeply personal yet universally resonant, capturing the essence of her journey through the mirror of her own soul. The evening of the showcase was filled with a sense of accomplishment and reflection. Linda's work was greeted with admiration and empathy by her peers. The feedback she received was both encouraging and humbling. It was clear that her art had touched the hearts of those who had shared her journey of recovery. As the retreat drew to a close, Linda felt a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. The time away from her everyday life had given her valuable insights and a deeper understanding of her own creative process. She left the retreat with a strengthened resolve to continue her work and to embrace the next chapter of her life with open arms. After returning home, Linda resumed her involvement in the arts community with a fresh perspective. She felt more confident in her ability to navigate the complexities of her career and relationships. Her renewed focus on her art and her commitment to helping others through her volunteer work brought a sense of balance and fulfillment to her life. Tom also began to see the positive changes in Linda. Her sessions with her therapist had become more constructive and their communication had improved. Although their relationship was still a work in progress, Tom's growing understanding of Linda's journey allowed them to reconnect on a deeper level. Their joint efforts to rebuild their trust and relationship were slow but steady. As Linda continued to explore her art and personal growth, she found herself embracing a new chapter with hope and determination. The lessons she had learned through her experiences and the retreat had given her a clearer vision of her path forward. Her art, once a refuge from her pain, had become a beacon of hope and renewal. Looking out of her studio window, Linda felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey she had taken. The road ahead remained uncertain, but she was ready to face it with resilience and an open heart. Every brushstroke of her art was a step towards healing, and every moment of reflection an opportunity to understand herself better. Linda's story was one of transformation and redemption, and she was determined to continue to create a narrative that reflected both her struggles and her triumphs. As she moved forward, she remained committed to embracing the future with hope and creativity, inviting others to join her on a journey of self-discovery and renewal. The autumn leaves had begun their colorful dance as they fell from the trees, painting the city streets in shades of gold and crimson. Linda felt a renewed sense of purpose as she returned to her daily life after the retreat. Her art had taken on a new depth and meaning, and she was eager to channel her new insights into her work. Yet amidst this sense of renewal, she knew that the journey of rebuilding her relationships was still ongoing. Tom had made a concerted effort to engage more meaningfully in their relationship. They had continued their therapy sessions, which, although often emotionally draining, were making gradual but real progress. Their conversations were becoming more open and their understanding of each other's perspectives was deepening. It was clear that both Tom and Linda were committed to repairing their relationship. Although the process was far from linear. One crisp morning, Linda received an invitation to take part in a community art project to raise awareness of mental health. Organized by a well-known not-for-profit organization, the project aimed to bring together artists from different disciplines to create work that highlighted the importance of mental well-being and the healing power of art. Linda saw this as a perfect opportunity to further her mission of using her art for positive change and agreed to take part. As she prepared for the project, Linda was struck by the serendipity of the timing. It was almost as if the universe was aligning itself to support her in this new chapter of her life. The collaborative nature of the project also resonated with her recent retreat experience where she had found healing through shared creativity. The project involved a series of workshops and exhibitions in which artists created work in response to personal stories and experiences shared by people affected by mental health issues. Linda was deeply moved by the stories she heard during the workshops. Each story was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a rich source of inspiration for her work. During one of the workshops, Linda met Clara, a young woman whose journey through mental health struggles and recovery was both harrowing and hopeful. Clara's courage in sharing her story made a lasting impression on Linda. As they spoke, Clara's words sparked new ideas for Linda's art, inspiring her to explore themes of vulnerability and strength in her future work. As the collaborative project progressed, Linda's contributions took shape. She created a series of mixed media installations that combined visual art with written narratives. Each piece was designed to evoke a sense of empathy and understanding, bridging the gap between personal experience and collective healing. Linda poured her heart into this work, channeling the emotions and stories she had encountered into her art. Meanwhile, Tom had been working on his own journey of self-reflection and growth. He had taken on a new project at work to mentor young professionals, an opportunity that allowed him to give back and find fulfillment outside of their relationship. Through this project, Tom discovered a renewed sense of purpose and a better understanding of his own values and aspirations. Their efforts to rebuild their relationship were paying off. Tom and Linda had begun to reconnect on a deeper level, and their shared experiences were fostering a new kind of intimacy. They spent more time together, engaging in activities that brought them joy and helped them rediscover the common ground that had once brought them together. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, Tom broached a subject that had been on his mind. "Linda, I've been thinking a lot about our trip. I know it's been hard, but I want you to know that I'm committed to making this work. I believe in us and in the changes we're both making." Linda looked at Tom with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "I believe in us too, Tom. This process has been incredibly challenging, but I'm beginning to see that we're making progress. It's a slow road, but I'm willing to walk it with you." Their conversation was a testament to the progress they had made. While the road to reconciliation was still fraught with challenges, their mutual commitment to understanding and growth was a beacon of hope for their future. As the community art project drew to a close, Linda attended the final exhibition. The event was a powerful testament to the healing potential of art, and Linda felt a profound sense of achievement as she saw her work displayed alongside that of other talented artists. The exhibition was well attended and the response from the public was overwhelmingly positive. The artwork resonated deeply with viewers and sparked meaningful conversations about mental health and the role of art in healing. The success of the project gave Linda a new sense of confidence and validation. It also reinforced her belief in the transformative power of art and its ability to create positive change. In the weeks that followed, Linda and Tom continued to navigate the complexities of their relationship with renewed hope and determination. They attended couples therapy together, worked on their communication skills, and made a conscious effort to support each other's individual growth. Linda's career was also on the up. The community project had opened new doors for her and she was receiving invitations to participate in more art events and exhibitions. Her involvement in the mental health initiative had established her as an artist committed to using her work for social good. And she was eager to continue exploring this path. As Linda looked out of her studio window at the city, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey she had made. The challenges and setbacks she had faced had brought her to a place of greater self-awareness and purpose. Her art had become a powerful tool for healing, and her commitment to rebuilding her relationships had given her a renewed sense of connection and hope. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Linda was ready to face it with resilience and an open heart. Every new project, every brushstroke of her art, and every moment of reflection was a step towards a brighter future. Linda knew her journey was not over, but she was ready to embrace whatever came next with courage and optimism. The winter chill had begun to settle over the city, enveloping it in a frosty embrace that reflected the uncertainties that lingered in Linda's life. The festive season was approaching, a time traditionally associated with warmth and joy, but for Linda it was tinged with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The progress she had made was undeniable, but the complexities of her relationships and career still loomed large. Tom had made progress in his professional and personal development. His mentoring project was flourishing and he had found a renewed sense of purpose in helping young professionals navigate their careers. This new focus had also brought a sense of fulfillment that was beginning to spill over into his personal life. However, the strain of their ongoing reconciliation was still palpable, and the road ahead was far from smooth. Linda had reflected on the progress she and Tom had made. Their conversations were more open and their time together was marked by a genuine connection. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship was still fragile, a delicate glass that could shatter with a single misstep. As the holidays approached, Linda wondered how they would navigate this time of year, often fraught with expectations and family dynamics. One evening, Linda received an unexpected invitation to attend an art residency program in a picturesque coastal town. The residency promised solitude and inspiration, an opportunity to focus on her art without the distractions of city life. While the idea of retreating to a peaceful environment was appealing, Linda was also conflicted about leaving Tom at a time when their relationship was still in a delicate state. Tom's reaction to the residency offer was mixed. On the one hand, he supported Linda's desire for creative growth and understood the potential benefits of such an opportunity. On the other hand, he was concerned about the timing and the potential impact on their relationship. They had worked hard to rebuild their connection, and Tom feared that a prolonged separation might undo some of the progress they had made. After much discussion, Linda and Tom came to a compromise. Linda would accept the residency but would make a concerted effort to stay in touch with Tom through regular phone calls and visits. They both recognized that the time apart might be a test of their commitment to each other. But they were determined to face it together. As Linda prepared for her residency, she felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The prospect of working in a new environment and immersing herself in her art was invigorating. However, the uncertainty surrounding her relationship with Tom and the challenges of maintaining their connection from a distance weighed heavily on her mind. The coastal town where the residency was held was a tranquil and picturesque place, far from the hustle and bustle of city life. The residency center, a charming old house overlooking the sea, provided Linda with the perfect setting for reflection and creativity. The sound of the waves crashing on the shore and the salty sea breeze provided a soothing soundtrack to her work. As Linda settled into her new environment, she found herself drawn to the natural beauty of the coastal landscape. The ocean, with its ever-changing colors and moods, became a powerful source of inspiration for her art. She began to work on a series of paintings that explored themes of renewal and transformation. Reflecting her own journey through the trials and tribulations of the past year. Despite the peaceful surroundings, Linda struggled with feelings of isolation. The physical distance from Tom and the emotional weight of their ongoing reconciliation created a sense of longing and melancholy. She kept in touch with Tom through phone calls and video chats, but the limitations of virtual communication often left her feeling disconnected. One day, while Linda was working on a new play, she received a surprise parcel from Tom. Inside was a collection of handwritten letters and photographs that Tom had compiled. The letters were filled with reflections on their journey together, expressions of his commitment to their relationship and memories of the moments they had shared. The package brought tears to Linda's eyes. Tom's heartfelt messages and the personal touch of the photographs reminded her of the depth of their connection. The letters were a testament to the love and commitment they shared and gave Linda a renewed sense of hope and motivation. As the holidays approached, Linda and Tom made plans to spend Christmas together. Tom traveled to the seaside town and they reunited in the comfort of the residential center. The reunion was emotional, filled with both joy and the underlying tension of their ongoing reconciliation. The time they spent together over the holidays was a mixture of reflection and celebration. They enjoyed the tranquility of the coastal environment and made the most of their time together. Linda's art took on a new dimension, influenced by the experiences and emotions of the past few months. The holiday was a turning point for both Linda and Tom. They both recognized the progress they had made, but also the work that lay ahead. Their time together reinforced their commitment to each other and gave them a renewed sense of optimism for the future. As the residency drew to a close, Linda returned to the city with a renewed sense of purpose and a clearer perspective on her relationship with Tom. The time apart had tested their bond, but it had also strengthened it. They were both more aware of the importance of communication, understanding, and mutual support in their relationship. Linda's work from the residency has been well received by the art community. Her new series of paintings, inspired by the coastal landscape and her personal journey, resonated with viewers and added a new dimension to her career. The success of her work boosted her confidence and reaffirmed her commitment to using her art for positive change. As Linda and Tom faced the future together, they were aware that their journey was far from over. The challenges of rebuilding their relationship and navigating their careers were ongoing, but they were determined to face them with resilience and hope. Their experiences had taught them valuable lessons about love, commitment, and the transformative power of art. Reflecting on the past year, Linda felt a deep sense of gratitude for the growth and healing she had experienced. The journey had been fraught with difficulties. But it had also been marked by moments of profound connection and personal transformation. As she continued to create and share her art, Linda was determined to embrace the future with an open heart and a renewed sense of purpose.